Second pitch of the game. The ball leaves the bat and the dugout exhales like a city caught off guard by fireworks. Only this time the fireworks were expected and the relief felt profound. Shohei Ohtani's leadoff homer didn't just put a run on the board. It punctured a pressure bubble the Dodgers had been carrying for 5 games. It was a simple event with complicated consequences, a tiny masterpiece that turned a clubhouse from quiet and brittle back into itself. Let's be honest, losing streaks do strange things to teams. They force tiny doubts into loud voices, make routine meetings feel like risk assessments, and turn normal rituals into anxiety-inducing tasks. The Dodgers aren't built on panic, but even the most stable organizations collect residue. Ohtani's early homer did what a good reset does. It gave the team permission to breathe, to play, and to re-remember who they are when things feel like they're slipping. Start with the obvious. Ohtani's 2 homers and 3 walks in the game are the sort of stat line that reads like an exclamation point. 48 homers before September is not mere production. It's leverage. It forces pitchers to change strategy, it puts account pressure on opponents, and it creates traffic on the base paths that benefits everyone in the line. When your leadoff hitter is slugging the way Ohtani is, the entire lineup gets a psychological upgrade. Mookie Betts doesn't have to carry as much weight. The lower half of the order gets pitched to differently. One slug from the first hitter cascades into new at-bats for everyone after him. But let's pull back from the box score and look at texture. Ohtani walked 3 times. Walks are underrated because they don't flash on highlight reels, but they tell you something essential: control and respect. A pitcher who fears a hitter's bat will nibble and frustrate himself into mistakes later. Walking Ohtani is a short-term loss that invites long-term gain. Those plate appearances where he refuses to swing at junk, where he forces the pitcher to throw strikes, become the pressure valve for a clubhouse aching to breathe. That's leadership that shows up without a speech. Clayton Kershaw's outing is the other axis of this reset. He struck out 8 across 5 third innings, not because he's trying to prove anything to anyone, but because he's still the strategic bedrock of this rotation. Kershaw's value isn't just in swings and misses. It's in the way he stabilizes planning. A veteran starter who can eat innings and challenge hitters allows a manager to preserve the bullpen, to script later innings intelligently, and to keep younger relievers from being rushed into high-leverage moments they aren't ready for. On a trip filled with late-inning heartbreaks, having a starter give you quality innings is therapy. Which brings us to the bullpen and the narrative of response. 2 ninth-inning collapses do more than produce losses. They create defensive crouches in dugouts the next night. The difference between a losing streak and a correction is simple. Did the team show up the next game ready to do the small things? The Dodgers did. Pitch sequences were cleaner, the defense made the routine plays earlier, and the manager's decisions didn't feel reactionary. That's the mark of a club with culture, the ability to treat a rough night as data, not destiny. There's also a timing element to this win that's easy to miss. The trip was awful in the moment. 3 early losses to a team at the bottom of the standings, then those late-inning defeats that leave you replaying one pitch on a loop. But travel fatigue, time zones, and mounting media doubt can magnify small problems. This game was a reset not just on the field, but in the travel ledger and the locker room ledger. Walks, homers, and Kershaw innings are the field-level signs that the team's mental ledger is closing one bad column and opening another. Now let's talk about leadership flow. Ohtani and Betts function as twin thermostats. One heats the clubhouse with production and presence, the other steadies the room through multi-dimensional contributions. When your 2 best hitters are both affecting the pitch count and demanding respect at the plate, you get more than production, you get tempo control. And tempo control in baseball is underrated. It influences how a manager sequences the bullpen, how the opposition designs its attack, and how spectators sense momentum. A game like this is less about reclaiming wins and more about reclaiming rhythm. There's a larger strategic angle too. The Dodgers remain atop the NL West. A stumble can feel existential when you're a historically dominant team, but the truth of long seasons is that they're marathons of attention to the marginal gains. That's the lesson here. Correct the little leaks. Walks, defensive alignment, late inning sequencing, and a 5-game skid becomes a single historical hiccup rather than a turning point. The front office and coaching staff need to parse the data, but they shouldn't overreact. This win gives them fresh data to tell a different story. And don't underplay the moral effect in the clubhouse. Confidence is contagious and fragile. Players pay attention to tiny signals. A starter who consumes innings, a teammate who refuses to chase bad pitches, a manager who doesn't panic on the mound. Those signals stack into a culture that can weather November tightness. Sunday's game sent an aggregated signal. We're not finished, and we can still control what we can control. Now the real test. How do you translate a single bounce back into systemic stability? First, maintain the pitching plan. Allow starters to establish rhythm and protect relievers from high-leverage load until you need them. Second, keep the lineup aggressive but disciplined. If Ohtani's walks continue, visualize adjusting the top of the order to maximize those free base runners. Third, treat the trip as a chapter closed, but keep the film work ruthless. What caused the late inning collapses, and how do you remove those exact fragile links? There's also a human moment worth pausing on. Players are not spreadsheets. Kershaw's line, Ohtani's grin, Mookie's timely swing. These were responses from people who wanted to be seen as steady, not fragile. In that dugout, the relief was audible because the effort was earnest. You can't manufacture that, but you can protect it by making decisions that align with the team's DNA. Performance before panic, process before headlines. Finally, a small prophecy. This win matters less because it broke a skid, and more because of what it revealed. A team that can reset with its two biggest personalities producing and a veteran starter providing length. The season will still be long and messy, and there will be nights when the bullpen is taxed and the offense slumps. But a reset like Sunday's is currency. It buys patience from ownership, confidence from the clubhouse, and belief from fans. 3 things worth more than a single box score. If you remember only one thing from this night, remember the second pitch. It wasn't just a homer. It was permission. The kind of permission a ball club needs to stop worrying about the past and start playing the way it knows how to win. Down 5 in a row? Not anymore. Shohei Ohtani jumped on the second pitch and put the Dodgers back on the board with a blast that instantly changed the tone of a brutal road trip, then added another solo shot in the third to make it 2 homers, 5 times on base, and a Dodgers reset the whole club desperately needed. You could feel the dugout come alive. After an East Coast swing that included 2 heartbreaking 9th-inning losses and a near no-hitter blown in the final out, Los Angeles needed a spark. Ohtani supplied it, and the rest of the roster followed. Clayton Kershaw settled in and gave the Dodgers length and strikeouts, going 5 2/3 innings with 8 punch-outs to halt the skid. Mookie Betts chipped in with a homer. The bullpen held firm, and the Dodgers walked out with a 5-2 win that keeps them atop the NL West, and more importantly, restores the clubhouse vibe. This mattered for more than one reason. First, Ohtani's 2 homers weren't just production. They were a morale lifeline after back-to-back heartaches. Second, Kershaw's outing provided stability on the bump at a moment when the staff needed it most. And third, the team's response said a lot about character. No panic, quick reset, and immediate execution from top to bottom. Dave Roberts called it huge, and Clayton summed it up perfectly. Baseball isn't as fun when you're losing, but this was a good reset. What stands out, Ohtani continues to be the ultimate catalyst. Walking 3 times, slugging 2 homers, and carrying the lineup is the kind of two-way superstar impact that flips series and swing moods. Kershaw reminding everyone he still has plenty left in the tank matters in a pennant race. And the dugout's reaction, the life returned to the bench as soon as that first ball left the park, shows this roster believes in momentum, not panic. Takeaway: the Dodgers dodged disaster and proved a 5-game skid won't define their season. They head home still leading the division with fresh energy and a reminder that when Shohei gets hot, this lineup can snap out of any funk. If you're tracking playoff landscapes, this win is more than one in the W column. It's a psychological reset that could matter down the stretch. If you love late summer baseball drama, this is the kind of bounce-back night that makes September feel very different. Like the play? Drop your thought below and stick around. The Dodgers just reminded everyone they're not going quietly.